So these are the guys that just conquered Afghanistan. Take a look at this. Look at that dude. How much are these guys benching? 40 pounds maybe at most? And these people just conquered Afghanistan in 2 days. Okay, so Joe Biden addressed the public yesterday and gave a pretty short speech about the situation in Afghanistan. Took no questions. Hurried off the stage. Well, hurried as much as he can possibly hurry. Kind of shuffled off the stage afterwards. Took no questions from the press. We know that if this was Trump in a similar situation and giving a speech, even people who hate Trump would have to acknowledge that he would have sat there for an hour, or stood there rather, taking questions from the press. Every single question hostile to him. But he would have stood there reveling in it, taking the questions. But Joe Biden can't take any hostile questions. He's off the stage. The speech itself has been roundly panned by really everyone on all sides. And that's pretty rare, that a speech given by a politician is going to be panned by both sides, especially when it's a Democrat politician. The media hated it for the most part, some exceptions. Certainly everyone on the right hated it. Let's play a quick clip of the speech just to get the kind of the flavor of it. Here it is.
I've argued for many years that our mission should be narrowly focused on counterterrorism, not counterinsurgency or nation building. So what's happened? Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight. If anything, the developments of the past week reinforced that ending U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan now was the right decision. American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves.
I have to tell you, I feel dirty listening to a Biden speech and agreeing with anything he says. But I did, in fact, agree with those clips there. I agreed with pretty much all of that. Now, that doesn't make it a good speech, okay? Because for one thing, in terms of delivery, you could tell that he barely knows what he's saying. You could see it in his eyes. You could tell in the way he's delivering it. He's reading the words and it's not registering in his brain. So that's a pretty big problem. And also, it was an excuse-making speech, and it did not deal with the real issue and the thing that has caused and precipitated most of the criticism, which is the way that the withdrawal was handled, the way that the pullout was handled. He just glossed right over that. A common political technique, also a pretty smart political technique, to talk about the thing. You know, you're going to talk about the thing that you want to talk about. You're going to frame it the way you want to frame it. You're not going to talk about what your critics are talking about. But we can't really call. So it may or may not have been a politically smart speech. I guess we can't even call it that because it was panned by everybody. There's probably no speech he could have given that would have changed much of anything for him politically. But he did avoid talking about the main thing, which is how the pullout was handled and why it was handled that way. Instead, he's talking about why we needed to leave. As far as that goes, the reasons that he gives, putting the pullout to the side, the reasons that he gives for leaving, that I agree with. And you know what? If he had given that exact speech 6 months ago, and in fact, he did give almost that exact speech 6 months ago when he was laying out why we had to leave. And I agree with it. The problem is that he's giving it again now when that's not really the issue. The issue is the manner of leaving. But even with that acknowledged, it is true that the Afghan military gave up. The entire Afghan government fled the country. He should have known that was going to happen. I think he did know, or at least the people really running our government knew that it was going to happen. Should have planned for that. Should have taken that into consideration. Made sure that we could evacuate all of our people beforehand, before all of that happened. But there's no getting around the fact that they did in fact flee the country and the Afghan military gave up. And I don't see how. Yeah, you can put all the blame on Biden that you want. Fine by me. But I don't see how the Afghan military escapes all blame. The way people are talking about them, it's like they're a bunch of infants, like they're toddlers. Oh, the poor Afghan military, we can't expect anything from them. Really, we can't? 300,000 of them, supposedly, trained and equipped for 20 years? We abandoned them. 20 years later, we abandoned them 20 years later? That's what you call abandonment? When you're left to defend your own country after 20 years? Abandoned? Now, if you want to talk about abandoning our own people on the ground and not having a plan in place to get them out, yeah, there's abandonment. Heads should roll over that. There should be resignations over that. There should be prison sentences over that. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that the Afghan military was abandoned, it's their country. What do you mean abandoned to their own country? If you're a military and you can't defend your own nation after 20 years of being trained, then whose fault is that? And I don't want to hear anything about, oh, well, they didn't have air support. Yeah, that's the point. We're leaving. Take care of yourself now. Did the Taliban have air support? Well, they didn't have the intelligence on the ground. How much intelligence does the Taliban have? This gang of 7th century savage scumbags? Are they flying in there with jets? And you got 250,000 of you, and you just leave? You don't even try? Even if I were to say that they're put in a difficult situation because our military isn't there to guide them and help them, fine. It's a difficult spot. So you don't even try then? You don't even try, is what we're being told. That's what. So if you're the military and you're put in a tough spot, don't even try. Give in to forces that you outnumber 3 or 4 to 1. Yeah, can we play this here? Here's the Taliban, by the way, after they took over the presidential palace. Let's play this. Here's them. They're in a gym, checking out some of the gym equipment. There they are. So these are the guys that just conquered Afghanistan. Take a look at this. How much are these guys benching? 40 pounds maybe, at most? Look at that dude. Look, he's trying to... He has no idea. Well, he's never used any kind of gym equipment in his life, clearly. All right, that guy was bicep curling about 15 pounds. And these are the dudes. There was another video of them taking over an amusement park, and they're like playing on the bumper cars. And these people just conquered Afghanistan in 2 days. Can't even say they conquered because there was no fight. It wasn't even a surrender. It was just like, yeah, all right, you can have it. Here you go. Country's yours. I don't buy that. I don't buy absolving. You are duty bound to defend your own country. That's why you're in the military. Absolving them of blame, give me a break. Come on. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.